Good morning, everyone. Here we are again with part number 3 of the chapter 2. We are not afraid to die. So, now today we are to start from this particular segment, from this particular paragraph. On January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Means only a small amount of water was there in the boat. Most of the water had been pumped out already. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. Some more water was coming in, and we are to make provision for that, right? We could not set any sail for the main mast. We could not set sail for the main mast. There it is. There it is, the mast. You must be seeing in the photograph, right? The mast, the bigger pole. Yeah, this one. This one is the main mast, right? And we could not hoist this sail there. Why? Because there was pressure on the rigging ropes. These were the ropes, no? These ropes, they were which were holding that, no? I think wind was blowing fast, and there could be pressure on it. And what could it do? Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart. This damaged section of the hull, that could be uprooted, and there could be a big problem. So we hoisted the storm jib only. Storm jib, the smaller one. Right? This is the jib. And headed for where I thought the two islands were. We moved towards that. It was eastern side. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits. Actually, we were hungry. We hadn't taken anything for 2 days. So we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. Oh God, how terrible the situation was, right? But our respite here means, what do you mean by respite? Respite here stands for relief. But our relief, that was not for longer time, right? But the respite was no much longer. At 4 p.m., black clouds again building up behind us. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots. Oh God, and the seas were getting higher. Seas here means waves. The weather continued to deteriorate, to get spoiled, and throughout the night, and by the dawn on January 5, by the morning of January 5, our situation was again desperate. Situation again got worsened and worsened. When I went in to comfort the children, John asked, "Hey daddy, are we going to die?" I tried to assure him that we could make it. No, better. We'll surely be safe. There is no problem. But daddy, he went on. But daddy, we are not afraid of dying if we can all be together. You and mummy, Sue and I. Oh, how, well, look at the thoughts of the child. He believes that if they are united, suddenly they are not even afraid of dying even. Wow. These were the really, these thoughts or these words of the boy, of the child, really boosted up the morale of the captain. And he said, I could find no words. I could find no words with which to respond to my child. But I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything I had. I immediately decided that whatsoever happens, I will save my children and save the boat even. Right? I'll fight the sea. To protect the weakened starboard side, I decided to heave to. What do you mean by the word here, heave to? Heave means I come to a stop. With the undamaged port hull facing the oncoming waves, using the improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope with 22 liter plastic barrels. Now they are the plastic barrels. Plastic barrel means the drums, you can say, the plastic drums. 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin, the fuel of the boat, they were tied, right? And what did I do? I just tied them with a rope, with the heavy nylon rope, and threw them into the sea and tied it with the with the side of the boat, so that boat should not capsize, it should not sink. Actually, the vacant or the empty drums, they would keep it afloat on the water, keep the boat afloat on water. This was the idea that came to my mind. That evening, Mary and I sat together holding hands as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks. Oh God, how would it be? They are the broken planks. Through these broken planks, water was still coming inside, and we were left with no other option. How to save the boat was the most important thing, but we both felt that our end was almost near. But Wave Walker rode out the storm, and by the morning of January 6, with the wind easing now, I tried to get a reading on the sextant. I tried to get the reading on the sextant. What do you mean by sextant? This is sextant, right? Sextant actually is an instrument used for measuring the angular distance between objects. Actually, this instrument is used in navigation and surveying purpose, sextant. So I had this instrument with me, and I just checked actually what the situation is, and how much distance can we cover to reach the islands. Back in the chart room, there it is. Back in the chart room, I worked on wind speed, changes of course, changes of directions, changes of drift and current. Drift means the movements, and current. Drift means the slow current, you can say, and the heavy current of the waves and wind. In an effort to calculate our position, actually where we were, I checked out. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 150,000 kilometers of ocean, looking for a just merely 65 kilometer wide island. As I told you earlier, that we were just finding some pinpricks in the vast ocean. In 150,000 kilometer vast ocean, we were finding only a 65 kilometer wide island, and that was the most difficult thing for us. While I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. The left side of her head was now swollen. Oh God, how she appeared, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. You can see her eye that had become quite narrow, narrow to slits only. Slits means very small opening. She gave me a card that she had made. What she had written on it. On the front of the card, you can say, she had drawn caricatures. Caricatures क्या होता है? Caricatures means a picture in which a person's features are shown in a very comic effort with pencils, you can say. So 2 caricatures of mine and my wife, right? Of Mary and me, with the words. What were they? Here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh? I laughed a lot as well. She wrote on the front, but inside was a message. This she did only to say thanks to her parents, right? Or to just make the things lighter, right? To bring them in a lighter mood. Inside was a message. Oh, how I love you both. So this card is to say thank you and let us hope for the best. Somehow we had to make it. That was her spirit. Good. I checked and rechecked my calculations. Again, I went to the chart room and checked my calculations. We had lost our main compass, and I was using a spare which had not been corrected. This is compass. My main compass was lost, and one spare was there, but that had not been corrected for magnetic variations. Actually, this compass works on works on magnet system, but that magnet it was not corrected for variations. Some variations were there in the instrument, but still I made an allowance for this. I made some arrangement, some provision for this also. And another estimate of the influence of the westerly currents which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. I knew the water current that was coming from the western side, how I could use it for my own benefit, so that we can drag the boat to the island. I just calculated it. About 2 p.m., I went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. I went to the wheel where Larry was working on, and I asked him to turn the boat at 185 degrees. If we were lucky, I told him with a conviction I did not feel. Means there was conviction, but it was not so strong. Conviction means strong belief. With a conviction, but that was not so, you can say, I was not so much sure about it. I told him he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. If we continued sailing the boat at this particular speed, and at this particular direction, surely we shall reach there by 5 p.m. Then, with a heavy heart, I went below, climbed on my bunk, and amazingly dozed off. Dozed off, I took a nap. When I woke, it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. Oh God, I knew we must have missed the island, because I had predicted to reach the island by 5 p.m. and it was 6 p.m. So I thought the island was missed somewhere. And with the sail we had left, we could not hope to beat back into the westerly winds. Means we could not come back, as the westerly winds were quite strong, and we could not go against the winds to reach the island, right? Then what happened? At that moment, a touzled head appeared at my bunk. Touzled, you can say some untidy, dirty. Some untidy or dirty head appeared by my bunk. She came up just near me. What was the head of? Whose was that head? That was of Suzanne. Can I have a hug? Jonathan asked. She was right behind him. Why am I getting a hug now? I asked. What's the reason, beta, you are giving me a hug? Then, because you are the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain also, my son replied. But not today, beta. Not today. At least, my son, not today. John, I'm afraid I'm not that good. But why? But why? You must be, said Sue in a matter-of-fact voice. In a matter-of-fact voice, immediately she reacted, You found the island! What? I shouted. Island? Yes, it's out there in front of us. They chorused. They both spoke together, chorused. As big as a battleship. Look, just like a big ship it is there. Battleship is there. I rushed on deck and gazed. I rushed on the deck and gazed with relief at the stark outline of Isle Amsterdam. Stark outline, stark boundary of that island, Isle Amsterdam. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock. There it was. A volcanic rock only it was. A bleak means a complete black or dark, you can say, with little vegetation on it. The most beautiful island of the world. He said the most beautiful island in the world it was. Why? Because that island was going to save our lives. Oh God. At last I would say, they reached there. A stark, a complete bleak or bare, or you can say a very desolate island though it was, but it still appeared to be the best island of the world for them at the time. Next page, please. The last one. We anchored offshore. Let me show you the position of island. There it is. There it is. You can see. Okay. Now, this is Africa. Okay. This is Australia. right? Somewhere, and this is Indian Ocean. So they had crossed this particular distance, and two islands they were there. Na? One was Isle Amsterdam and second was Saint Paul. Two islands are here, very small, just like pinpricks, as I told you. So they had to reach here somewhere. This is the position of those islands. Okay. Now, the last one, the last page, and these are the pictures of that island that they reached, Isle Amsterdam. We anchored offshore. We anchored offshore means we just stopped our boat just near the shore. We didn't go straightway to the island. That night we stopped there, and the next morning, all 28 inhabitants, the residents or the inhabitants, the occupants of that island, cheered. They welcomed us as they helped us ashore. They took us to the shore. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie. Means I paid my gratitude to Larry and Herbie, cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress. Means both of them, both the crewmen, they worked with positive framework of mind. They were optimistic. They were always hopeful that we shall reach the island, we shall reach to the safety in the direst stress. Direst means extremely horrible stress that was there on our mind. Even then we reached there, and of Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours, means who took control of the ship in very important period of time, during that very important period of time. And most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl. This was the boat, completely broken when it reached the island, Isle Amsterdam. Right? Oh God, at last they reached. Most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about a head injury. She didn't mention it even. Which subsequently took 6 minor operations, small operations. They were done to remove a recurring blood clot between skin and skull. Actually, there appeared a blood clot somewhere in the skin, and that needed. She had to undergo 6 minor operations to remove that blood clot, and of course, of the 6-year-old boy who was never afraid to die, who was not afraid to die. So that marks the end of this particular chapter, my dear. And I would tell you, this story actually motivates the reader. What about not to panic, not to panic in the times of distress, right? And all the voyagers of the Wave Walker did not even once lose their hope or show any sort of weakness of character at a time when death was staring them in their faces, and death was there in front of their eyes, right? With their indomitable courage and conviction, they beat all the odds against them to reach Isle Amsterdam, right? So this story thus conveys the idea that if we can be optimistic and keep hoping for the best in life, we can endure, we can face, we can bear the direst stress also. And all the problems and difficulties of life will automatically be away from us. So my dear children, that marks the end of this chapter. Thanks a lot.